Aloha! I'm geologist Philip Ong, sharing a Kīlauea video brief. In this report, shifting ongoing summit inflation. Magma movement continues within Kīlauea volcano close to its summit, evidenced by its seismicity and gradual inflation on monitoring signals reported by the USGS Hawaiian Volcano Observatory. Over the past 2 weeks, they also note that, quote, the pattern of tilt in GPS motions indicates that the inflation center may have shifted slightly to the southern part of the caldera, end quote, while gas emissions have been measured slightly higher from around 70 to 110 tons per day, still within the recent background range. The shifting center of summit inflation could explain why the GPS cross-caldera distance, which had been increasing since the recent eruption, shows higher variability over the past month before more clearly resuming its previous spreading trend this week. This temporary rate change was superimposed on a movement tied to larger deflation-inflation signals that dominate the ground tilt plots, but are considered a background process. Back to the baseline signal, it appears to be symptomatic of a buffering effect between the South Caldera and Central Caldera in the context of the current USGS HVO verbiage, in which case the magma will have built enough pressure under the central area to activate fluid pathways to the south, enlarging the network of underground reservoirs actively filling. This is not entirely surprising considering the magmatic intrusion into the southern area less than a month before the start of the 2020 eruption, as referenced in the December 2020 USGS Volcano Watch article. But, as was the case then and remains the case now, magma continues to enter the shallower reservoirs from below, despite the temporary dispersal of pressure, so the long-term trends towards building the next eruption have now resumed. The baseline ground tilt is also somewhat obscured by the DI cycles, but after slowing its inflationary trend last month, appears to be visibly rising again over the past week, mirroring the pattern seen on GPS. The progression of the monitoring signals over the next few weeks will offer further clues to the adjustments within the volcano, as magma buildup could cause further shifts under different areas of the summit, or potentially into the Upper East Rift Zone, which continues to refill, as stated for some time in USGS updates, and currently exhibits an increase in seismicity as well. Small earthquakes flurried this past week under Kīlauea summit and nearby Upper East Rift connector, but the volcano remains within the range of slightly elevated background, despite registering over 400 events in 4 days. On the Upper East Rift and nearby South Flank, seismic activity is less pervasive but still continues. While, quote, seismicity has slowly increased in recent weeks in the summit region, end quote, USGS HVO offers a context that, quote, it has not yet reached levels seen immediately prior to the December 2020 eruption, end quote. Rather, our analysis suggests that the current earthquake rates and patterns compare more closely to the buildup ahead of the most recent eruption, resembling the elevated seismic background between September and November 2020. Unrelated to the small volcanic earthquakes, 2 moderate tectonic events were felt on island in the past few weeks. A magnitude 5.2 just north of the island, just offshore near Waipio Valley on July 5th, and a magnitude 4.2 farther to the northwest on July 7th. Also reflected in the weekly USGS counts are the nearby Deep Pahala earthquakes, where magnitude 4.5 on June 17th was the largest event in the ongoing seismic swarm since August 2019, and was followed by about 40 aftershocks larger than magnitude 1.7 in those ensuing days. No glow remains visible from the recent eruption, though small spots of remnant heat remain evident on the west vent and the hardened lava lake surface, which continues to slowly settle, down perhaps 10 centimeters or 4 inches in the past month, measured by the automated laser rangefinder, much less than the previous month's initial drop of 3.5 meters or 12 feet. Taken altogether, are these signs of significant change or of a new normal? Perhaps a little of both, as Kīlauea's most recent surface activity was much shorter lived than its previous 35-year Pu'u'o eruption, and is a first to follow the 2018 summit collapse. The new normal may be more frequent changes near the surface, driven by a long-term background trend of elevated magma supply at depth, with the 2020 to 2021 eruption as one of the first steps of that process. The volcano's building pressure ever since has already had surface and subsurface consequences, and we continue to await its next move. That's all this week. To support our productions, please like, share, and subscribe. Mahalo.